All right. I was going to demo this last week, but I had got pulled into jury duty, so you guys missed out. um, so what I'd like to demo today is being able to add a custom link to a report, specifically adding a link to an instance in a report. So we have a project that they have a bunch of tests that the participants have to run, and every time they come in for a visit, they get new tests like assigned to them, and the coordinators have to make sure that they're doing these tests or that they're entering the data for the tests. And so they wanted me to create a report that showed for each coordinator any new tests that the participants had to take. And when I created the report, the link that's always on the left is just for the record ID. So if you clicked on it, you'd have the report would have like 20 rows for all the tests that were outstanding. And then if you clicked on the link on the left, it would just take you to that record. And then you'd have to scroll down and you'd have to remember what instance it was or what test you were looking for and that kind of thing. And so the project manager asked me if there was a way to create a link for a specific instance, and I thought, I don't know, let me see if I can do that. So let me just give you some background here. I just created a basic project here, and so for example, if you just had a report that you just wanted the record information, the basic report. So this is just a demographics form. And like I said, if you click on the link, it takes you to the record. But REDCap also has a way to take you to, you can create a report that takes you to, it'll generate an event link off the record ID. So if I click on this visit report, so now this is basically all of the records. And you'll see here that this link and this link, even though they say just one, they're different. This takes you to the record, similar to what you saw in the demographics report. But if I clicked on the second one, it actually takes me to the visit form for that record. So it's nice to be able to do that. And the way you would do that is in your report, you just you have your visit forms, and then you can filter on any of your visits. You don't have to filter on any events, but REDCap is smart enough to know that if you have fields for an event, then you want to look at the record for that instrument for that event. So these, you can see here, these are for visit form. If we go back to the demographics here and look at the report, I just have demographics. My project is set up to where I have I have 6 events. So I have the demographics and then year 1 through 5. And then for each, I just have the demographics as a single form. And then the visit form goes and repeats for every event. So just by pulling in the visit form fields, REDCap is automatically going to, when it generates a report, you can see here that it's got everything for year 1 all the way to year 5 for the first person, and then it shows the second record and then all their information for the second, and so on and so on. But I have this visit form set up as a repeat instance, as you see here. So if they came in every other month, but there's no way for me to click on it doesn't generate, REDCap doesn't generate a link to automatically do that. So my first step was, or my first question was, is there a way to create a link for each instance? So in here, I was looking at the way the URLs are structured, and REDCap adds the instance. So I thought maybe there was a way to append that value using jQuery. You know, if I found that information somewhere, and then I realized that I could do that with a smart variable. So, and it was actually it was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. When I first designed it, it was more complicated. So in the smart variable, we have some options for URLs. Let me so if you just want to get to the instrument here, you would use the form URL and you would put the name of your instrument. And I thought, okay, that would work. But if I have multiple instances, how would it know what instance I was going for? So I thought I could use the instance fields. So I thought I was going to have to put the event name so that it knew what the event was. And then I thought I was going to have to put current instance. But it turns out I just have to use the form URL, and REDCap automatically knows that's what you're talking about. So I figured out how to get the URL. Now I had to figure out how to get that value and how to put it in a report, because REDCap, I could pipe it somewhere, but REDCap doesn't allow you to put piped information in a report field. So I ended up having to use calc text, and I use this a lot. This is just if the visit form complete field has a value in it. So if there's a record for that instance, anytime REDCap generates a record, whether it's unverified, incomplete, complete, it puts a value in there. So this is kind of just an easy way to grab some logic to have it run, to say if it has a value, meaning that there's an instance, I just want you to give me the form URL for the visit form. And if not, then leave it blank. So I have it set to hidden. I'll remove that just so you can see it. And if we go to one of these records, you can see here it's a repeatable instrument. So now this is the same as what's up here. So now I've captured that value. Now I just need to figure out how to put it on a report. And luckily, by doing it with the calc text, which took me some doing, you're able to put it in a report. Now, if you have a project that you've been running for a while, and this was the case with this other project, they've got like 7,000 instances, like 4,000 records, things like that. You have to run the data quality rules, or else these links will show up as blank in the report. So I ran the data quality rule, and just to show you, the data quality rule is, for anybody who's not familiar, is this letter H, incorrect values for calculated fields. And if you run it, it'll tell you. And then if you say view, it'll allow you to fix them and it'll run through. And then once you do that, you're ready to put it on a report. So now if we go to this report with link, I haven't added it yet. But if we go to edit report, and I add it, and this one I just have set to all the years, so it's just going to give me this is how you filter it if you want just your event information, because if the demographics you saw earlier, if I had a mix between demographics and visits, it's going to show demographic data and then the visit data and then demographic data and the visit data. So this is just so it shows you just the visit data, and it doesn't have the individual record for the demographics. Also, just because I'm kicking out the visit data or the demographic data, I have this value as a calc text field to concatenate the participant name, because if you don't have the demographic information, then you lose that value. So as you can see here now, the instance link, if I click on it, it'll take me directly to that instance. And you'll see here it's year one, instance one. And then if we go down here, this is year two, instance one. So now it's grabbing that value and it's putting it here for you to use. And when I did that, I was thinking, this is cool. It's working the way I want it to work. But that URL is really long. And if we have a report that has a lot of fields, like this is just a demo report, it's only got a handful of fields. This is going to get pushed way off to the side and it's going to be a huge link. And then just you trying to make sure you click on the right one here could be a pain. So I thought to myself, is there a way for me to replace the link text with custom text? And using the JavaScript injector, the first thing I did was look at what I always do is I inspect everything I have. And let me just open this up all the way. So you can see here that it's a table. It creates the report as a table. And within that, each link gets a class of rc-url-to-link. So by creating some JavaScript to replace that, I could set my own values. And all I'm doing is I'm just targeting the value that's inside the href. This right here, this text. I don't want the href to be changed. All right, I misspoke. Not the href. The link text. I want the href to stay the same. So this is, I know this looks cumbersome to people who are non-programmers, but it's really just this bit here. If I just copy that and show you, I'll put it in the console here, and then you'll see this change. So you saw that immediately change, because basically what it's doing is it's saying, give me every element that has the class, anything that's an anchor element that has the class of RC URL to link. And I want you to loop through each one of them. And then I want you to grab the text and I want you to replace it with link. So the link still works. It's just now, and you could have anything you want here in your code. The other problem I found was that this would work for like short reports, anything that like loaded really quickly. But this project I was working on, it took maybe 45 seconds to a minute to load. And what was happening was my code was firing right away, but then it wasn't, by the time the report loaded, nothing would happen. So I had to figure out how to fix that. And the way I did that was through two things. So I figured I should check to see if the report is loaded in the report table. And by doing that, it sets a value. This report table class will have a value of 0 if it's not, if it doesn't exist. So if I just copy this length here and go to the console again, you see here it returns a 1. When the report is loading, that value is 0. And so I set my code to trigger when that happens. And then I also had to set an interval. So what I'm doing is I'm running this code every 1/100th of every 100th or every 10th of a second, because they break it up by 1,000. So 1,000 is 1 second. So every 10th of a second, I'm having it run this code every 10th of a second, and I'm setting this interval up here. And then what I'm doing is I'm saying, once this is all done, I want you to clear the interval. So I want you to stop running this code because you don't want it to just sit there and chug away. So that took a little bit of research and some doing to figure out exactly how to get that set up. So now what happens when you have a long report is it's just going to keep trying to update those link texts. And then when the report loads, it's going to update those link texts, and then the code's going to stop. So that's the code. The way we implement it in REDCap is through the JavaScript injector. So I have that same code here, and you just have to enable it. And then the difference is you don't want it to run on all project pages. And the nice thing is here is you can add a new snippet just for this. So if you have JavaScript running for other things, you can create a new snippet just for this and set your own parameters just for this. So instead of having it on all project pages, you want it set to always on for reports. So we'll save that. And it's the same code as what's in this JavaScript file that I have. And now if we go to the report, you can see that it when it first loads, you saw that the table loaded and those values were there, and then they immediately like changed to link. So now I have the link there. And then last night while I was thinking about this, I was thinking like, well, what can I do with, now that I kind of know the smart variable route and I know how to get a value and I know how to put it in a report, what else could I do? So I thought it'd be kind of neat to be able to add a new instance directly from a report. So I went into my visit form and I added another field called add new. And this one uses the new instance smart variable. So now I'm grabbing this URL for the form, but I want REDCap to generate the link or the URL for a new instance. So I don't even have to know how many instances there are. I don't have to calculate any of that. REDCap's just going to do it for me. So once I have that set up, now if I go back to the report, and I add that field, so the code that I have here is this little snippet. So it's doing the exact same thing as this. This little chunk is churning through the links. And then this one it's doing the same thing, but I had to do something different. And I'll show you what the difference was now that I have both of them on there. So this is the link for this is the link for the instance, and this is the link for the new. And the thing you can see here is that they both have the same class. So the problem is my first chunk of code here is turning everything that has that class to link. But I don't want it to turn my other column to link. I want it to change it and add it and make the text add new. So what I had to do was figure out a way, look and see how those are different. And the way they're different is the URL for the add new has this new at the end of it. They both have an instance, but this one has the and new at the end of it. So what I did was used in jQuery or JavaScript, there's an attribute contain selector. So what I'm saying is I want to take this class, but I only want to apply it to anything that has and new as part of the href value. So this href value here, I just want to grab anything that has and new. So, and if it has add new, then I want you to replace the text with add new. So it's the exact same function, but it's a little more specific. And you could get, if you didn't want to use this, you could figure out a different way to maybe find something that's unique in the instances. The problem is this has instance and this has instance. And I think what makes this work is that I'm looping through this code. And so it's going to change. It basically changes all the links to link. So it'll change this to link and this whole column to link. But then I come back with this other chunk of code saying, okay, now change all these to new. And it happens so quickly, you don't even really notice it. So now that we've got this as new, if I click, so this has 6 instances for this first record. And these are all the same. Like, so for this chunk, this link is going to be all the same. So whether you, and that's kind of the thing is like if you did this, you would want to make it to where you really only had one link for the record. And so you're not, it's because it's going to be a little harder for you to figure out exactly where you're at and if you're clicking on the right one, but this is just for demo purposes. So now if I click on add new, it's going to give me another instance. So now if I go back to the report, you can see here that it added that new instance, number 7. So does anybody have any questions about that or need me to explain anything?
Doesn't sound like it.
Just
Looks
silence.
cool. I think just takes a little soaking in. I'm glad we recorded it.
Yeah.
Even I want to watch it again. Okay. Thanks. I'm trying to.
Well, Michael says he has questions, but I may address in Slack. So, yeah, if you want to address those in Slack or here, or if you want to wait until afterwards, that's fine.
Why don't you ask them right now, Michael?
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I'll ask now. So each one of those is a unique URL, and being so similarly, you have the ability to export unique URLs from the what's called our excuse me, our survey distribution tools. And so I'm wondering if that's going to actually appear in that export or if that's possible. So if you go over to survey distribution tools, click on that, and then if we look at our participant list, depending on how the data is collected and depending on the structure of the project, and if you're set up for surveys in your project, provided all those things are applicable. So I don't think you have that feature on, right? So surveys within the project.
Yeah, no, I just turned it on.
Oh, you just turned it on.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't have an email set up for it, so an email field. But I think you would be able to, if what you're asking is what I think you're asking, I think you'd be able to do it as long as you use because you can use the smart variables for surveys, I believe. Now, I haven't messed with it too much, so I don't know if you'd be able to get the exact.
I think it would add that to that export to that list, so it's available and you have like an actual list that could be used, even like in a remote setting where you have a QR code. Similarly, that could be linked up to that link as well. So they're.
Yeah, I think so. I think it would just depend on how it's set up. If that record exists and you click on it to, because you could click on it as an instance and then open it as a survey versus having a survey, like a unique survey for the person, but you could have the survey URL, and then you could have their access code. And then depending on the way REDCap creates that survey link, because I believe the survey link, when somebody opens a survey and it puts in their access code and it loads the survey, I think it puts the access code in the URL somehow, so that way it's a unique link. You could have that string generated to where it automatically builds that. Possibly that could be something to try.
Yeah, there is a separate access code as well as a URL for the survey.
So yeah, that'd be something interesting to try.